Hello, this is Kade, and here we have IAE 2950 Day 3, Anvil Aerospace. And well, of course, what better place to start with Anvil than with the Carrack herself. The big exploration ship that has finally come out, and we can now all enjoy flying around with. It did, however, get a gargantuan price jump, which should not really surprise too many people, I think. But yeah, the Carrack went up from a $350 original price to $600 now. I'm not really entirely sure if it deserves 600. That said, it is a very capable ship. Even right now it has a reasonably large cargo hold, like it's only beaten by the Caterpillar. That's why the Caterpillar has like 100 and a little bit SEO more than the Carrack does here. But both ships are really good haulers, and the Carrack has the advantage of being a lot better protected. It has double the shield, and it has better armor as well. So it's a lot more survivable. And putting two parapet shields on the Carrack will even allow it to take a torpedo or two, I believe, or maybe even three, depending on how rapid succession they're being fired. But yeah, it's a really capable ship. It's a fun ship to fly around multi-crew, and it's already fun if you just got two people, one in each of the side turrets. It's of course not gonna be a hammerhead level of firepower because you're just dealing with, I believe, double size force. On each turret, so firepower is a lot less, but it's still more than enough to clear any PvE mission for sure. PvP wise, probably not gonna be your best choice. And of course later on, once we start to get exploration, it could be a really useful ship. That said, considering the development time of things, exploration I expect to be quite a ways off. Now, besides the Carrack, we have of course the small little shuttle that comes with it, the Pisces. Now, if there is one ship that I love, it's the Pisces. The Pisces is literally my favorite small ship to have around. These things zoom around the system, they have reasonably fast quantum travel, they store a couple of SU cargo, you got a couple of guns on there. It's really small, so just fly really nimbly, it gets in and out everywhere. And of course it fits in the Carrack. Landing bay on top. Excellent little ship. And actually, if you're looking at a starter, a tier 1 starter, so you're looking at the Aurora, Mustang and 100 series, I actually also would look at the Pisces. The Pisces doesn't have a bat, so that's a downside, but it has the ability to, has extra seats, so you can transport two other people with it. It can transport some SCU. It's just a really little flexible ship and quite a lot of fun. Over here we have the good old Hawk, which is of course a bounty hunter ship. Not a ship that I've personally flown, because it has like numerous weapon systems, but they're all small, which is really not ideal, because the thing that we're seeing right now is that as the weapon sizes go up, so does the engagement range, which can be beneficial, especially with certain weapons like the more damaging weapons will of course be closer range, so if you're smaller weapons, the range gets even closer and closer. That said, for bounty hunting gameplay, this is probably going to be a really decent ship, and it's still a reasonable good flyer, but I do think that there are better options out there. And let's go and take a look on the other side here, where we see the Arrow. The Arrow, of course, is Anvil's light fighter offering. It's a really decent light fighter. It comes in at a lower price than the Gladius, so that's a bonus. The downside is that it is less survivable than the Gladius. That's no question about that. Firepower wise, it's pretty much a toss up between the two. So it's really a case of what you like, what fits your budget. If you're, for example, a person that buys ships for organization, so people to fly it, so you probably want to spend a little bit less than the Anvil coming in at a cheaper price than the Gladius will be a means to allow you to have more fighters available. It also folds up more compact than the Gladius, so you can actually park more of them around. It's a really solid offering. Here we have the Gladiator, which is one of the older ships still around. It's a a carrier-based fighter bomber, pretty much. It is a fairly capable little ship even today. That said, it's just been overshadowed, and design-wise it suffers from the same issue that the Hornet does, and that it just needs a bit of an update, I think, to fit in along with the rest. That said, it's really not a bad ship to poke around with, so if you like a fighter bomber, then the Gladiator here is a very good option. Let's go and take a look at the hollow hulls down below, and then we'll move to the other hulls and see what they have on offer. For today I have not actually looked around previously, I just went in and saw the recording. Let's see if they have anything down here. Now they also have seating areas like Aegis did yesterday. Of course, do keep in mind that these things... Oh no, wait, they have actually their ballista parked over here. So the ballista is the ground-based anti-air vehicle. Packs a good number of fairly large missiles and I believe a double size 3 or 4th turret on there. So overall fairly capable, but it is really, really pricey for what it is. And it only being ground-based, I'm not really sure that's going to be worth the money. If you're planning to be doing, of course, a lot of ground-based operations, you want some AA, then sure. But do keep in mind that, in principle, the goal of AA on the ground is not to kill stuff, but it is to make sure that people don't come after you. And in general, having air superiority is always going to be much more beneficial than having anti-air units. This is something you can see actually reflected in real life, where, for example, the US military has fairly low amounts of anti-aircraft units, whilst Russian doctrine favors a lot more anti-aircraft units because they do not expect to have air superiority, whilst America expects to have air superiority. And here we have, I believe it was called the Anvil... No, what was it again? I forgot it. Yeah, Crucible. Anvil Crucible. So this is the mobile repair ship. So this allows you to repair ships to a more in-depth level in mid-space. So this is roughly like between a Aegis Falcon and a dry dock, you would have this ship. So it can do a lot more than a Falcon could do with a couple of repair drones, but it's not a full-on dry dock. It just sits there nicely in the middle. So any small to, I think, some medium-sized ships, they can be landed on top of this thing and you can conduct repair operations. This could of course make it a fairly useful asset in larger operations. If you don't have, for example, a carrier-based ship like an Idris or something else, then this could be a good support ship to have around to patch up your fighter wings and perhaps keep them flying, depending on how long repairs are going to take. This is of course an unknown. So right now, is this a ship I would say you would buy? Not at all, because there's not enough information on the gameplay loop, on how useful it's going to be, so I would leave this thing by the wayside. So that together with the ballista are the first two that we're going to say from Anvil that we not recommend to buy. So let's go, excuse me for that. Let's go and take a look at the other hulls. Let's go and take the other way around this time. Why not? Start in hull 3 instead of hull 5. You do start to just notice how empty these expo centers are. I don't have the ability yet to fill them up with NPCs because things would crash. Right, what we have here is the famous F8. This is going to be the new big boy fighter, heavy fighter of the fleet. The good old Lightning. Now the Lightning of course is officially not for sale. Unless you spend $10,000, then you get one. So it's not for sale, but it sort of is for sale. It's not currently available, however, I believe, to the players, even the ones that have it, even though it is flyable, so I'm not 100% sure on that, because I remember with Fleet Week that some people did manage to, let's say, acquire them from the fleet and flew them around, which CIG devs were like, that was not the idea, give that back. But yeah, this is an absolute beast of a heavy fighter. You can just see the amount of guns in here. There's 8 gun placement points. It's a really, really big, mean machine. So, what's, I'm not sure that was 2 up there or 1. I can't really see. Yeah, it's 8. Well, yeah, this is a mean machine. And I expect if people start to get flying this, depending of course on the handling, but it should be able to absolutely destroy about any other fighter in the game right now, just because of the raw firepower that it has available to itself. So yeah, I do hope that we get to see these things flying relatively soon, because I am curious to see how they will perform. Of course, I also expect them to be held back for Squadron 42, but we'll have to see how far in we're gonna get with that. Then on the other hand, we have the Flying Turtle, if I'm not mistaken. Yes, it is. This of course is gonna be the scanning / recon ship, the good old Terrapin. Terrapin is right now, to be honest, nigh on completely useless. So it's not really a ship I would recommend to buy. Even for future usage, we still have to see how the whole scanning gameplay is gonna be working out. If this thing is gonna be really useful, you may want to have like 1 in a larger organization, or 2 when you're flying around in the fleet, so you have additional forward scanner capabilities. So like if you're an organization that flies like a Javelin, so you would have like maybe a couple of Idrises in support as well, then you would have maybe, you could park like 4 of these on the edges of the fleet, just to have like that extended sensor coverage, so you could be detecting any incoming stealth bombers, for example, and things like that. Beyond that, exploration, they also say a little bit, it's just like there's not enough gameplay loops that are really knowledgeable, and while it's currently flyable, there is not really much use to flying this ship in the PTU right now. As a result, I cannot really recommend you acquire it. Then we have the Valkyrie, which is of course the big bad dropship. It's a brute of a ship, it looks really cool. It has some firepower available to it, like a bunch of size 3 turrets here, a couple of singles as well here on the wingtips, which are remote control. And of course it has the really big capacity to carry a lot of people. The problem here of course is that right now we are on servers that are limited to, 50 people. So while you can go in here, I'll quickly show here the base, like yeah, you can put a reasonable amount of people in here, like about 20 people for the dropship use. It just doesn't really have all that much use currently. However, if you are a PMC style organization, then I don't think you can really miss out on the Valkyrie, because it does have the dropship capability in a far more capable package than, for example, a Prowler would do, and what's roughly the same cost, I think, as one of these things, or a, I think it was one of the Vanguard variants, which also can drop a few people, but this of course can really, like, with this thing you drop 2 squadrons on somebody, so that's a lot more firepower that you can bring to bear, and it has the, turrets to provide fire support to those people on the ground for a limited amount of time, and it has that hover mode, so it can actually consume less fuel to stay in the air while in orbit, which of course if you take a Hammerhead into atmosphere, it's going to burn through its available hydrogen fuel a lot faster than a Valkyrie would do. So while a Hammerhead would offer clearly superior firepower, the Valkyrie will be able to stay around on station a lot longer, which could prove to be very useful. So for most other plays, I would really not bother with it. There are more interesting ships out there. Let's go and take a look in Hall 2 and see what else they have on offer today. Ah, there we go. It's our good old friends, the Hornets. The Hornet, of course, comes in a bunch of variations. You have the Ghost, the Tracker, the Standard C, the Super variant, so those are the two-seater ones, which also has this skinned variant. As always with these skinned variants, these were like early attempts at having different skins. These days they just sell skins separately. The only difference beyond the skin is the weapons loadout, which you can of course change completely in game, so I would never worry about buying one of the variants. Of course, we also have the military version, which has seen a bit of updates. I'm not sure if they're going to do even more on it, but don't remember if they will. That said, it is a fairly cool looking ship, but it's currently not really top dog from what I understand in the PTU or in Arena Commander. That said, it is between this one and the Saber, and the Hornet does come in at a cheaper price. So once I believe there's still shield bugs and things like that with it, so once it would all be sorted, it's probably going to be a toss-up and preference between a Hornet and a Saber, but cost-wise the Hornet is going to be more appealing. Of course, you're going to be looking at buying the civilian variants, you're not going to get the military versions. However, there was like a military style kit for the F7, which they sold once, but I don't believe that has worked ever, and you can just see the current design difference there between the military and the civilian one. So the Hornets are really not bad ships, but there are just better options out there. And when you're looking at the variants, like the Tracker is utterly useless right now, I believe. The Ghost, like if you want to go stealth, you can go stealth right now with anything. And actually a Saber will of course have the edge because it has the inherent multipliers to being additionally stealthy. So if you want to get a stealthier fighter, you get a Saber. And of course, if you really want to get one, like the Super does bring that additional level of firepower. So that could be useful. It is multi-crew, like the second person could operate a small turret, but in my opinion, turret gameplay on small ships is still absolutely atrocious. And that's like not something that could really be fixed, because a small ship is just going to be too agile. And in order to really have good turret gameplay, you actually want a stable firing platform, which a small ship cannot provide. Oh, and it would seem that we completely looked over this small little Hurricane, I believe it was. I do forget somebody's name. Yeah, Hurricane. Light fighter, lots of big guns. And again, a turret on there, and that's a bit of the issue. If this was a single person ship, I would be like, hell fucking yeah, awesome. Really cool bit of life. You could have two really hard hitting weapons here that are fixed on the side, and you could have the mobile, really gimbal turret on top that allow you to keep track on targets while you're sort of very nimble platform, but it's a two-person ship, which means you're doing a turret operator on a small ship, which as I said is in my opinion still atrocious, and for that reason I do not recommend it. Also because there's just no way to slave that turret. Like if you could even slave the turret to the pilot, it would be an easy recommendation, but as it stands, I can't really recommend this ship, even if you want to do multi-crew operations. Also because it's just a fighter. If you really want to do multi-crew operations, you're probably better off getting yourself something like a Cutlass. And I think that's actually it, because it looks like Hull 4 and 5 are closed off today. It does make sense, because we have pretty much everything of Anvil handled. So that was Anvil Day for the Intergalactic Aerospace Expo of 2950. We went over what they have currently on offer. I don't believe they have anything on offer that's not being shown here today. They don't really have any massive capital ships, which I do wonder if they're gonna get any. So, because right now the largest things that they have is things like the Carrack. And for a, really well-respected military manufacturer, you would expect that maybe they would also offer something in like the Hammerhead styles or ship. But we'll have to see, of course. A lot of larger ships were traditionally Aegis Dynamics and Robert Space Industries, so it may just be that they don't really build a lot more of these larger ships and that they really are just a fighter supplier to the Navy in, of course, the form of what used to be the F7, and now it's going to be the F8, and of course they also want to actually snoop away from the light fighters by replacing the Gladiuses with the Arrows, but I'm not really sure how far they're going to get with that. Overall, really good lineup. Most of the ships are, recommendable in some aspect or another, and a few that I would just say like, yeah, there's not really much point in getting them. And the key ones, those, of course, being the Ground Vehicle Ballista, the Crucible Repair Ship, and of course we have the Hurricane. These I cannot really recommend. And a bit more questionable is going to be the Hornet series and of course the Hawk. Beyond that, Carrack, it's really pricey, but it is really capable. Pisces, absolute blasting. So useful to have one of these things around. If you're playing solo and you just want to get around in places, do things, you can't really go wrong with the Pisces. Arrow, fairly solid light fighter, cheaper than the Gladius, just not as survivable. And I think that was it for today. Oh yeah, and the Gladiator, the fighter-based bomber, which is still a capable unit. So that was really it. I hope this once again could be informative to some of you, and I will see you tomorrow. Thank you for watching.